Welcome to Playing Above the Line, where we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and community activists to get their thoughts and perspectives on leadership. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group, a business consulting and accounting firm focused on preparing clients for the future through innovation and positive growth. Welcome to another episode of Playing Above the Line. I'm Alan, your host, and as always, we are in Deep Pride Studios at the Companion Yard in Mobile, Alabama, and have a great guest today, Gail Yongue from Mosquito Joe. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So, let's jump right in. Mosquito Joe. The first time I heard it, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a restaurant. It's not. So, what is Mosquito Joe?
We come out to your house and we do a perimeter spray. Basically, you're making an invisible fence between your yard and your neighbor's yard.
Okay.
And so, no, we don't make the mosquitoes go to the neighbor's yard. When the mosquitoes will land on that, they'll die.
I got you.
And then we control the whole life cycle. So we're going to treat standing water, dump any standing water we can.
So basically, you take care of the official mascot of the South, the mosquito.
Yes,
right?
I do.
Because we have plenty of mosquitoes around this part of the country. So I know you're a lot of people's best friend when you come and take care of that at their house. So now, so Mosquito Joe, is that a franchise?
It is a franchise.
Okay.
We purchased our location in 2015.
Okay. All right. So what made you decide that you wanted to get into the mosquito killing business?
I always wanted to own a business, but my husband's career kind of moved us around, and I just remorphed myself until we knew we were going to stay somewhere. We knew the person that was hired to franchise the business out, and so he brought it to our attention. We thought about it for a couple of years, and then we went ahead and moved forward.
I got you. Okay. So sounds like you've got a little entrepreneurial spirit to you. Has that always been the case with you? I mean, did you know, you said you knew that you wanted to own a business. I mean, did you grow up even in high school, college, knowing that you wanted to be a business owner? You couldn't work for somebody else. So how did that transpire?
I always wanted to do stuff. I had all these ideas growing up. I would tell my parents, I want to do this or that. And it's kind of interesting. My parents were from a time of life that my mom was like, no, you need something you can follow your husband around with, which is funny that I did follow him around. And so they kind of squashed it a little bit. Yeah. But what that did is just instill, a personality trait in me that if somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of had the reverse effect.
Gotcha.
But I always am thinking of new ideas, new business things that could happen. So like right now, we're kind of we're looking at a lot of different options to do an added business.
I got you. Okay. So tell me a little bit about your team. So you got the franchise. Obviously, it takes bodies to go out there and do what you do. So how many people are on your team? It
is more seasonal. Okay. We do spray year round, but obviously peak season, we're going to have more employees. This past year, we had 8 technicians in the field and then 2 office staff.
So Playing Above the Line is, about entrepreneurship, leadership, and that kind of thing. So you do have a team that you're charged with leading. Mm-hmm. Give me your just overall philosophy on leadership. What makes a good leader? How do you see those qualities in yourself? And then what do you think is important as far as leading a team?
I like to lead by example. Okay. I feel like you should never ask somebody to do something you're not going to do yourself or be willing to do yourself. I like to show them, a good example in life. I talk a lot to them about treating others like you would want to be treated. That's really important to me. So we focus a lot on customer service. Mm-hmm. Whenever if an employee comes back to me, they're really frustrated with a customer, I like to help them step back and look at it from their perspective and go through it. And so that's how I like to lead them. Okay.
So talk a little bit about what you look for then in employees. So you're hiring people whose job it is to go out and deal with the public. And so your business is not a business unless you have happy customers that are willing to pay you for what you do, right? So obviously that interaction with the technician and the customer is pretty important. So what are some things that as you're hiring these people, what do you look for?
I have found that because you're solo in the field, we look for people that kind of already come from areas where they're going to have learned it. So retail is good, restaurant work. They're used to that public, but they've had a manager there to help them, develop their skills. And so we look for people that are kind of coming from those industries. They want something different. And so we'll give them a shot. And usually that's really what has worked for us.
But before the podcast, we were talking, you're from Tennessee, right? Originally born in Tennessee, is that right?
No, but I'll claim it.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough.
I moved there when I was 2, so I don't know anything different.
I got you. So we'll go with that. So in your show questionnaire that Carrie sends, you mentioned that one of your leaders that you admire is Pat Summitt.
Yes.
Obviously, very successful head coach from University of Tennessee women's basketball. Was there for I don't know how many years, but a long time. Won no telling how many national championships. Just a bunch of games. So tell me what it is about her that resonates with you.
She was a very hard worker. She expected a lot of hard work from her players, and so I think that's really important. You have to, when you get knocked down, you got to get back up. And so I like that about her. She also didn't believe in a lot of rules. So she had some key rules. And as long as you followed those key rules, then you were good to go. And I like that. A lot of people tend to just try to pile on more and more rules when something happens. And that's not really always the best way.
Yeah, that's good. Talk about mentors. I mean, who in your life can you point to that has had an impact on your leadership style or what you kind of turned into as far as leader yourself or wanting to, even step out there and be a business owner? Who are some folks who have had an impact on you?
I had a boss right out of college. His name's Chuck Hyder. Okay. I worked for an IT recruiting firm. And so I learned a lot from him. He was a small business owner. They actually owned 3 businesses that I supported. And just his style of helping you learn and grow was really good. One thing I identified that he was really good with is that I needed more direction when I got hired, because I was right out of school. And I think a lot of people, even today, they kind of feel like they know the real world, but they don't. Right. And so he was patient about that and sat down with me and talked about, this is kind of the real world. Your expectations are not where they need to be. And that helped me grow. And so I actually asked him if we could meet on a 6-month basis because I would get all my projects done and be bored for the other 6 months before my review. And so I actually was way more productive because we were able to have that collaboration and talking. And so I think it's important to be open with your staff and talk to them and get to know them and then just guide them. I'm not a parent, and so when I started doing this, I was like, I didn't realize I was going to need parenting skills. Yeah. And I have said multiple times, I need to go read a parenting book. Right. But because we hire such young staff, a lot of times that is what I'm doing. And so whenever I'm helping another franchisee and they're having difficulties, or sometimes my husband gets really frustrated, I'm like, you have to approach it in a different way. These are people. And they just don't have that skill set, and you have to help them build it and get them there. Well,
one of the books, I've mentioned it before too, and I think maybe one of our guests has mentioned it, but it's Crucial Conversations. And so I think I hear what you're saying, and a lot of times it's hard when you're dealing with your employees, I would think, to have those honest and crucial conversations. I mean, it's always easy to have the rah-rah, you're doing great conversations, keep up the good work. But if there is correction that needs to be made, or if someone needs to be kind of, refocused, that can be a little bit more difficult.
It can be. Yeah. One big thing I learned, I was in Emerging Leaders, I guess 2 graduations ago. And one of the big aha moments I had in there was that sometimes you have a staff member that they do the job really well, but their values don't line up with your values or your company's values. And it's a no-win situation, and you just need to part ways. And that was a huge aha moment for me because I had a staff member at that time, and they weren't going to you can't change somebody in quick enough. And so we did end up parting ways, but I'm sure he's on to greater things and stuff that is more fitting into who he is. Right. And it's better for our staff because when you have somebody like that, it can be toxic. And so it is a hard conversation to have, but you got to have them because the longer you put it off, the harder it is for the team.
Agreed. And our guest last week was Eric Freese, and he's the owner of Soul Caffeine. And one of the things he talked about was the importance of making sure that your employees are aligned with your mission and your vision. So how do you go about making sure that that's communicated to your employees and making sure everybody's on the same page, pulling in the same direction, and fits in with your vision for what the company, what you want it to be? Because obviously you've got a vision because you knew this other guy, didn't line up with that. So how do you make sure that that's kind of imparted to them?
My vision is just providing the best customer service we can. And so they get that from the get-go interview. We talk about it, how important it is. We do interview questions based off of, building a good customer experience. And then that leads into once they're hired, we train on that. We have an entire session on how to build a customer experience. And then if somebody kind of goes off the tracks, then you just bring them back in. And usually that's enough. But sometimes you realize maybe you made a bad hire or something's changed in their life and it just doesn't line up.
So how long have you had this particular franchise of Mosquito Joe?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. So talk about a little bit about the growth, because I would imagine that if your focus is on customer service and customer satisfaction, that you've had some success in developing that customer base. So can you talk a little bit about the growth that you had over the past 5 years?
Sure. We've grown to over 1,000 customers in the 5 years. The first year was crazy growth. I didn't expect it. Our growth has been higher than the average. They put you in classes and compare you, and every year mine's been higher. And I think it completely is from the customer service. Yeah. And that actually comes from my background as a nurse. I was a hospice nurse for almost 10 years. And so just that is a lot of customer service and meeting people's needs. And so I think that's where that comes from.
I didn't realize that, but so that human connection really, I mean, you obviously, if you were a hospice nurse for 10 years, you were dialed in on the human aspect part of it, right? So I know that you have technicians, but how much interaction do you have with your customers? I mean, do you have a lot of that anymore, or are you basically just kind of on the back end, making sure everybody else is pulling in the right direction?
I still have customer interaction. I still go out in the field with the technicians about once a month. I still answer the phones. You know, it's obviously not as much as I used to, but I am still involved in the day-to-day business, and I think you need to be able to know what's going on. We also, our franchisor does a survey, and so that gives us feedback on what's going on. And then if something, I need to intervene and follow up with something, I will.
Well, we talk a lot about, at our firm, we are very much believers in having a plan and a vision and that kind of thing. We internally we have a 5-year vision. We have a 1-year strategic plan that we update every year. So we are big believers in that. So as you look at the future of Mosquito Joe, I mean, what's your vision? What are your plans? What would you like to see the business be in, let's just say, 3 to 5 years?
We definitely want to add on other brands. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a franchise. And so we're thinking stuff that complements and also stuff that helps people enjoy their lives at their house. Being a business owner, I've realized how busy people are. You know, I never had kids, so I didn't realize until this is kind of my kid that, oh my gosh, your life can get crazy. And so we're trying to identify some things that we can bring on board that will help parents be able to be parents and not have to mow the lawn or clean the pool, and we're just kind of vetting things out and seeing what's going to fit for us.
You don't have kids, so I would imagine that it's hard to maybe turn the business owner switch off sometimes. I mean, do you find yourself kind of working maybe, I'm not going to say too much, but I mean a lot, maybe when you should be taking some time to recharge and that kind of thing?
Yes and no. It is hard for me to turn it off, but one thing I did really well in hospice was creating a boundary between my patients and my home life, and I just explained it to them. So my first couple years, I had forgotten that, and then all of a sudden I had a moment where I was like, you know, these killing mosquitoes isn't life and death. I mean, it really isn't. Some people may feel like it is.
Sometimes around dusk in Alabama, people will think it is, yes, but I understand what you're saying.
But compared to where I came from, it's not.
Right.
And so I finally was like, I got to back off. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to help my husband learn to shut it off. So last night I came home. I went to a convention. I came home. We hadn't seen each other for a couple of days. And he just wanted to talk about the business because we had just moved from the house into a leased space. He's all excited because it's finally out of the house, like completely. And I was like, it's 9:00 at night and I want to watch my show.
Right.
We need to figure out, you know, when appropriate conversations are, and this is personal conversation. So I think over the years, I've finally gotten back to where I was with hospice, as setting boundaries and this is business, and I do work more than I should, and I need to take more vacations, but it's important.
Yeah, what a great lesson to learn from that prior experience, because I would think that if you let those, what I know are heart-tugging and wrenching experiences dealing with people who were ultimately you're their last level of care before they pass on. So allowing that to kind of bleed over into your personal life, I would think would be kind of a mental and physical, emotional drain. And so I think that's a great lesson for people to learn, that even if you're not talking about hospice nursing, you've got to build that boundary between your business and yourself, to have that to have that delineation between what you do from 8 to 5 and then what you do, personally.
Right. Well, and it also taught me that life is so much more than your job. And I'm glad that I got to see that earlier in life. And I look at things, I think, a lot differently. And so I've given a lot of thought to that lately about, sometimes when you start a business, you're just all in, you're tired, you're trying to grow it. And, at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, you need to figure out a way to have fun. And because that's not what life's about. Life's about connections and community and relationships. And one of my friends likes to go have epic adventures. And so I always try to think of that, let's do something epic. And epic can be a wide range of things, but that's what life is about.
Love that a lot. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Are you a big reader? Do you read or listen to podcasts? I mean, what I'm looking for, I guess, is an author or a book or a podcast that you can kind of put out there for our listeners to maybe go to if they are looking for some inspiration in their leadership / entrepreneurial type lives.
I am definitely a reader. I just finished the 4 Disciplines of Execution. Can't tell you who wrote it.
Right, but I think that's one that's come up on the podcast before. I
think it's going to be business changing for us this year. Okay. I'm very excited.
Good. What about podcasts? Listen to podcasts? Other than Playing Above the Line, obviously. I'm sure you've listened to all 58 episodes of that so far.
Not particularly, because I'm not usually in my car, which would be the best time for me to do it. When I did hospice work, I did a lot of listening to stuff like that. But since I've owned the business and it was run out of the house, I don't have that drive time.
I gotcha. Okay. So you mentioned epic adventures. So give me your idea of what would be the ultimate epic adventure.
Oh, well, my bucket list right now is to go to Iceland and see the Northern Lights. Yeah. And their weather apparently is epic. So as I was reading about it, I was like, well, I won't have to plan anything epic. It'll just happen.
Yeah, I would think Iceland would be pretty much, they go hand in hand with epic, I would imagine.
So that's my goal maybe in the next years, to get over there and have some fun. We like to go hiking, camping, boating. Yeah. We haven't had any epic adventures on the water, but definitely hiking in snow and stuff like that.
Okay. So if you were a hospice nurse, you own Mosquito Joe, but those things notwithstanding, if you could do anything else, if you could have, and even if it requires this special skill set that you could automatically just magically have, what would that be if you could do anything for a vocation?
I would love to own a professional sports team.
All right.
And you're going to ask which one?
Yes, I am.
And anything that I enjoy, which I enjoy a lot of different sports, so it wouldn't matter.
Okay.
Baseball, football, soccer.
So you and Mark Cuban would be right there together with the Dallas Mavericks and the whatever. So, okay, very good. All right, one last question before we wrap up, and this is one I haven't brought out in a while, so I'm not sure how many episodes you listened to. You may have heard it, but if not, then good for me. So when you're driving back across the bay to Daphne, Fairhope area, and a spaceship lands in front of your car, and you can't go anywhere, a little ramp opens, an alien walks down, comes up to the car and says, "Gail, take me to your leader." Where do you take the little Martian?
Gosh, that's a good question.
Hey, it's one of my favorites.
I guess I just take him to my dog. Our life revolves around our pets.
That is what they say, and I have asked that question several times, and I've never had anybody say the dog. So that's you get points for originality on that one. But I can appreciate the love for your dog, because I have a dog that I love greatly, and we have a studio dog, Jed, that Johnny never lets come in here and interview with us. So he makes him stay outside, so that's kind of sad. But I can appreciate that.
Oh, well, he could have come in with me.
I know.
We've already bonded.
Well, Gail, thank you very much. This has been great. Now, if you want to go out and check out more about Mosquito Joe, you can go to gulfcoastalabama.mosquitojoe.com, and we'll have that in the show notes on the episode page. But for more information, go there. Thanks for joining us. This has been great.
Well, thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. It definitely helps us in the ratings, and it also makes it easier for other folks to find the podcast. As always, a big thanks to producer Carrie Wolf and editor Johnny Gwynn. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group. If you want to know more about who we are and what we do, you can visit our website at avisogroup.com. That's AVIZO group.com. You can also check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.